and it harm none. Do what ye will. Blessed be. Merry meet, merry pot, and merry meet again. Greetings, friends, mystics, witches, mages, sages, and sorcerers of all ages. Today we are discussing the religion of Wicca. Breaking it down for you, as always, from the perspective of common sense occultism. So stay tuned. We're gonna miss all the fun. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Hey everyone, FRATER Super Rabo here again. Thanks for checking out my channel, where we are and always will be the home of common sense occultism and practical magic. Thank you for joining me today. Really quick, I'm going to say it, so here it is. If you are new and you haven't already done so, please look below, find that big red button marked subscribe, and hit that for me now. Then look to the right or somewhere in that general area, and you're going to see a bell. You want to make sure you hit that bell as well. That way you're notified each and every time we upload new content to this channel, and then you can watch it as soon as humanly possible. One last thing, definitely not least though, please remember to like and share this and all videos. It goes a long way to helping us out, and it is very much appreciated. So for that, I thank you in advance. Thank you. Okay, down to business. As already stated, the topic today is the religion of Wicca. What it is, what it does, and all that good stuff. So, first of all, let me get my disclaimer out of the way. One, this is not completely a history lesson. I am going to be giving, actual factual information about people and places and things, but I am not going to sit here and list off dates and birth dates, death dates, and a big thing and bore you guys to death. If you want that information, there are plenty of other sources out there. You can find it with the click of a mouse really quick, but my goal with this video is to give a general understanding of what this is, and particularly what Wicca is compared to other faiths like paganism, polytheists, witchcraft, and how it relates to these terms, basically. I shouldn't have used the term faith there, but how Wicca relates to these other terms and the differences between them, because this is still very much a hot topic, and I'm sure if you're looking below while you're watching this video, you will see a bunch of suggestions of other videos with titles like, "Is Wicca witchcraft?" or "Are all Wiccans pagan?" or "Witches aren't Wiccans," and stuff like that. You just look down below, you'll see a bunch of them, and I guarantee you I came really close to a few of the titles that I just listed off right now. So my point is this is still talked about, and everybody else gets to make a Wicca video, so why not me? So yeah, darn it, I'm gonna make one too and give my opinion. I'm not Wiccan, by the way, so I, again, continuing with the disclaimer, I am not an authority. I do not speak for Wicca. There really is no Holy See of Wicca, no Vatican of Wicca, no matter what branch you're a part of, and no Pope or potentate of Wicca. Yeah, I am not a part of any Wiccan organization. However, I have researched the topic thoroughly, and I have known quite a few Wiccans over the years. And at one point in time, I did kind of consider myself to be at least on the on the Wiccan side, or at least I called myself a pagan. So I was also of the opinion at that time that all Wiccans were pagan, and it was pretty much the same way, pretty much the same thing. However, now, as you will see, my opinion has changed. because, you know, we learn, we grow, and we find out things that we didn't know early on, and boom, our brain grows, and well, the brain doesn't necessarily grow, but our knowledge grows, and we change our views sometimes. So, Wicca. Wicca is a religion, first of all. It was a religion, and at its it is a religion, and it was created firstly by a gentleman by the name of Gerald Gardner. Gerald Gardner was a quirky old man, kind of had crazy Albert Einstein looking hair a little bit, but yeah, and he was a nudist or naturist, and he stumbled upon, at least this is how the story goes, is he stumbled upon a group of witches in the New Forest in jolly old England, and they initiated him into the mysteries of witchcraft, and based upon that experience, he created a new religion, a religion that was a revival of the ancient witchcraft religion, or the old ways, the religions of old. This was a reconstruction of the religion of old, of highly European based type of pagan religion, and very, very nature-based, very, very balanced with both the divine feminine and masculine. Unlike most of the Abrahamic style faiths, which tend to be definitely more masculine in their structure. So. Yeah, Gerald Gardner started it all. Now, whether he actually had this experience with this New Forest Coven, as it was called, we really don't know. It's something that he did, and I can't pass judgment. The man's no longer here; he's no longer with us, so we can't really ask him or say, prove it, or, give us a little bit more info. But regardless of what you think, he did some pretty important stuff in creating this religion. Now, as you know, I am a Thelemite of sorts, and what is highly ignored, and always has been, is that Gerald Gardner was a student of Aleister Crowley. Crowley being the founder of Thelema and head of Ordo Templi Orientis until his death, and head of the Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica, or EGC, Gnostic Catholic Church. So a lot of people choose to dismiss this, and they also choose to dismiss some of the word-for-word likenesses, the word-for-word prayers and invocations and incantations and poetry and stuff that is incorporated into Gardner's Book of Shadows and Wicca as a whole, that were very much obvious influences of Crowley. You will find things in the Gnostic Mass that are, again, which Crowley wrote, and he wrote first, before Wicca came about, but then you'll see the same things, some of the same stuff. Maybe a word changed here or there, but you know where they got it from, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with this borrowing. I'm just saying, because obviously Crowley borrowed. He didn't come up with everything that he taught, but he did give credit where credit is due, and say this came from this and this came from that. And what gets under my skin just a tiny little bit is that you will hear people, shoot off at the mouth about Crowley's negative influence and this and that, but then they'll sit there and say the same prayers or call to the goddess that was written by the man Aleister Crowley, and then they'll credit it to someone else. And I'm not saying Dion Fortune was not a big influence on Gardner as well, but it's just common sense that we know where a lot of this stuff came from, and I think it's wrong to kind of deny that and to act like we're just going to disassociate ourselves from this bad guy that we don't like, because the man that you revere, Gerald Gardner, thought of Crowley in high enough regard to be a student, and also to take initiation from Crowley and to be given a charter to initiate a body of Minervals, which is the first step in establishing a lodge in OTO. So there is a Crowleyan influence on Wicca, whether you like it or not. Whether people like it, whether Wiccans like it, it's there. And if you deny this influence, it's funny because I'll see the same people that will be like, these Bible thumping Christians, you can't tell them anything. You can give them 100% proof that, Jesus is a solar god, and it's just like, kind of compared to Dionysus or Osiris or who, you can give historical type of examples like that to Christians, and the people get all upset and be like, oh, these Christians, they just say it's in the Bible. It's not in the Bible, so, you're spouting the devil's information. But they ignore historical, word for words, common sense stuff that's just right before them. And you'll see people get upset about this. But you'll see those same people that just said that about the Bible-thumping Christian, when approached with factual information about Aleister Crowley and Wicca, and they'll be like, oh, no, he was just, we wrote him out. We didn't want him in there, things like that. So you'll see, and I'm not knocking the Ferrers or the Ferrars or however you pronounce the last name, I don't know, but, going on Donahue or whatever talk show and saying, oh, well, we threw Crowley out. We didn't want anything to do with him. Oh, well, you just kept his words and his prayers and all that stuff, right? But anyway, it's just that I find that very humorous. And I am not, anyone that knows me knows I am not one of these. Aleister Crowley could do no wrong, and he is the end-all, be-all when it comes to magicians, because nothing could be further from the truth, in my opinion. Was he great and do great things for magic and the occult revival? Absolutely. That's just my opinion. I think it's pretty much fact. But I'm not one of these Crowleyan worshippers that feel that everything he did was absolutely right, and that the man could do no wrong, and that I will not listen to, arguments and say that, he was capable of bad, terrible things, because everyone is, and yes, he did do some terrible things, more than likely. So, again, you can't throw that at me either. But I just think it's important, if we're going to be one way, and say, this is history, this is common sense, this is blah, 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 on one religion, you can't, in the same token, deny something else just because you don't like it, because it doesn't sit well with you. Okay? So, yeah, rant over when it comes to that. Back to Gerald Gardner, who did have a Crowleyan influence. He is the founder of modern Wicca. And we owe a great debt of gratitude to the man. he started the coven-based form of Wicca, which is now called Gardnerian Wicca, basically, of course, after his last name. And Gardnerian Wicca is still very much alive and well today, and there are Gardnerian covens through, across the world. And at least to my knowledge, it is a 3-degree system, much like Freemasonry. I am not saying it is Masonic at all, but I'm just saying it's the same initiatic structure where there are 3 degrees. And then the third degree being priest and or priestess. So when you go through the stages of initiation, you end up being a priest or priestess in your own right, and then you can continue to work within your own coven that you were initiated into, or you can go and start your own and be the head and initiate people, and you are given that Wiccan apostolic succession, or so to speak. So, very much like Golden Dawn lodges, when you reach a certain grade, you have the option to not only be Hierophant, but you can start. You can break away and start your own Golden Dawn based lodge, whether it's actually Golden Dawn or not. I think it's up to you, but you'll see various people that go through the order, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and then when they reach 7 equals 4, I believe it is, they go off and do their own thing, either within the same Golden Dawn context or slightly different. Things like what Nick Farrell has done with his Order of Aurora Aureae. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Another way of saying Golden Dawn, but it's not quite Golden Dawn, and he's made some changes. But anyway, so we have the same concept. Also, to the issue of Wicca being like this totally different thing from ceremonial magic, and this totally different thing, and being just, it's just not true either. Again, with the Crowleyan influence, you will see an early, maybe not now, and it's probably not practiced as much nowadays, but in forms of Wicca, you do see very, very close parallels to traditional Western ceremonial magic. Even down to angels, archangels, Hebrew god names, lesser ritual of the pentagram, all this stuff is incorporated into forms of Wicca. So let's talk about that a little bit more, and what I mean is forms of Wicca. So we spoke about Gardnerian Wicca, and Gerald Gardner, kind of the man that started it all. And now we also have the king of the witches, self-proclaimed, or I don't know if he was self-proclaimed, but it was dubbed upon him Alexanders, to which is attributed the Alexandrian rite of Wicca. So these are the big two that you will hear about all the time, and that when people get most of their information on Wicca, these are the two branches that have been around the longest, and probably have the most members, and all that stuff. So Gardnerian Wicca, coven-based Wicca, highly into the nudity from the naturist founder, obviously. And then you have Alexandrian Wicca, which is Wicca, still Wicca. You'll have to forgive me, I don't quite know the story on how Alex said that he was initiated originally. And I don't know. I'm not quite sure if he knew Gerald Gardner at all. So if someone that's on the up and up with that, feel free to comment below and, put me in my place and tell me I should have known that. But yeah, Alexander's a magician, and very much incorporated these ceremonial magic type of things into his forms of Wicca. he also he broadened things a little bit more, and again, I'm not an initiate of Alexandrian Wicca, so I'm not privy to all of their secrets or anything. But there is a great documentary that has Sanders in it and things that he'd done. Just look up Alex Sanders Wiccan documentary, and that you'll see. You should be. It's black and white, but it's good stuff. So hopefully it's still on YouTube. I know I've watched it, so check that out if you want to know a little bit more in depth about the man, Alex Sanders. His wife, ex-wife, because Alex is, of course, he has passed on as well, but Maxine Sanders is still very much alive and well and active in the Alexandrian Wiccan community. And I have a lot of respect for this lady. She is, in many ways, she is hard-nosed, like, just gung-ho, whip them into shape, let's train, real magic people, and I have a lot. It's very, very football coach, standing on the sled. You better push that, son. She's just a great lady. I've never actually met her, so I can't speak personally that, we're friends or anything. But just from what I've seen over the years, her attitude towards magic and training style and dedication is just awesome. So, if by any chance you happen to see this, Maxine Sanders, I'm a big fan. Yeah. So, a woman that is doing great things to this day for Wicca, Maxine Sanders. So I guess one could argue that she is, the big time, the big boss in that tradition of Wicca. So yeah, those are the big two. And again, I want to remind everyone, this is a religion. So there are a lot of Wiccans out there that are self-professed Wiccans anyway. I'm not saying they're coven Wiccans, but solitary Wiccans that don't necessarily practice magic at all, because it is for them a religion. It is their way of reconstructing a nature-based religion, and that's that. And they just don't get into the magical side of it. A lot of that, in my opinion, a lot of that came about with this whole kind of this solitary movement. So I'm going to make a video about that another time. But, stay tuned for that one. But now, most people that identify as Wiccans, I would say, are solitary Wiccans. There are other various branches of Wicca, some which I'm not even going to mention, because honestly, I don't want to give them any publicity. But the big two, awesome traditions. Speaking of Gardnerian and Alexandrian Wicca, while again I am not Wiccan, I have the utmost respect for those traditions, and there are some members that are just amazing magicians. Getting to the term witch, we have another tradition that is BTW, British Traditional Wicca, but we also have British Traditional Witchcraft, or Tradcraft, as people have shortened it to, which is different. They very much stand behind that. There is a certain current and egregore of sorts that is witchcraft on its own. European witchcraft, to be exact, to be specific, within the British Isles. And can and should only be practiced there. Now, I'm not saying all BTW people feel this way, but there are those that do. That, you know, you can't be a British traditional witch if you don't have the ground and work in Great Britain. So, this is it's similar, but it is very much away from the religious side of things. Very practical magic type of witchcraft, spellcraft oriented, raw type of witchcraft magic. Now, the definition of witch, there's going to be some disagreement amongst people. My personal opinion, again, this is not necessarily, you know, I believe it, but, you know, draw your own conclusions, you know, research yourself, draw your own conclusions. I do not believe, you know, of course, the word witch just means wise person. So I guess in theory, you know, anybody could be a witch. But when we say witch, we get this image in our mind of a powerful person that is wise, that just can do these amazing things that people seek out, and that can, you know, bend things and people to their will, and do just, you know, they're special people. I am of the opinion, and, you know, get mad at me if you want, but I am of the opinion that you cannot necessarily just wake up one day and say, I'm a witch, I choose to be a witch. I am of the belief, and there's quite a few others that feel this way as well, that to be a witch, you are kind of born into it. That you, whereas, you know, anybody can say, I want to learn magic. I'm going to read, you know, Liber Abba, or I'm going to, you know, go into the Golden Dawn and, you know, get myself my elements balanced, and then, you know, be a Rosicrucian magician in the second order. Or, you know, that's a choice. Witchcraft, being a witch, I don't feel that is a choice. I feel that it's something you're born into, and I don't mean in the sense that you see in movies where, you know, you turn 13 and your mother pulls the daughter aside and says, by the way, you're a witch. All your mothers and grandmothers are witches and always have been, and we're gonna initiate you on the second Tuesday of the full moon of blah 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 after Samhain, on Halloween at midnight or whatever. You know, not in that sense at all. But what I mean by that is people that are born with some kind of gift or ability, and I'm not talking about being psychic. And I know there's going to be people that say, everybody's psychic and you can just grow it, and that's, you know, it's within all of us, and blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, I'm just going to stop you right there. That's not what I'm talking about necessarily. I'm talking about something that is just there, like a gift, an ability that was not asked for, or, you know, and it may be psychic of a psychic nature or something, or, you know, breaking electronics is a big one usually. Some form of something getting messed up, or some form of energetic vampirism, or just something that, you know, is a little bit off. A lot of times it has to do with, you know, magnetism and things of that nature. But, you know, just something's, you know, just a little bit off. You know, they say stuff and stuff just happens. You know, which is just like what they said. So, you know, these are your, I guess if you want to use Hollywood terms, your natural witches. This is what I believe a witch to be. I believe it is something that is in you, that is in your DNA. Everybody doesn't have it. and that it doesn't matter if you're a part of a religion that calls it a group of witches or whatever. I'm of the opinion you're born into it, and while anybody can do magic, of course they're going to have different levels of skill and whatnot. But this natural thing, this natural ability, that's when I hear the term witch, and when I say witch, that's what I mean. I don't mean any form of this or that religion. I don't mean pagan. I don't mean polytheist or monotheist or whatever. A witch can be as Christian as they come and still be a witch, in my opinion. So that's what I believe a witch to be, a true witch, a natural witch. Now, I am not dismissing the magical abilities of Wiccans and self-professed witches across the globe whatsoever, so don't be mad at me. But I like to be upfront, and, that's my opinion. A lot of people share that opinion, and it's, it is what it is. Again, I am not a part of the faith of Wicca, but, it'd be pretty bad of me. I probably should have went into this first, but some of the things that Wiccans believe, let's talk about that. Wicca is a nature-based religion, no matter what branch you're from, that originally it's about the balance and duality between feminine and masculine energies. So, the goddess figure is held in very high regard, and her aspects to nature, as well as the paternal god figure. Whereas in the Abrahamic faiths, it is very much the fatherly, paternal figure only. So in Wicca, it is very much ingrained in the philosophy that the divine feminine is focused upon and loved, worshipped, and it's in some ways outweighs the paternal in a lot of ways. You'll get people that are the staunch balance type, which I think is the best way to go, 50-50. But you will see some Wiccans and some traditions that say, oh, well, we pay more attention to the divine feminine now because it's been missing for so long, with the rise of other Abrahamic faiths and monotheistic faiths, that we feel the need that the goddess needs to be worshipped more. But, to those people, I would, of course, say, well, there was, lots and lots of years before any of the more paternal or the aeon of the dying god or anything patriarchal came into play, where the goddess was the sole figure and held in very high regard. So, that's the reasoning they give. But again, I'm for balance. I'm always for balance. So I think it's you're gonna get your best results and experiences from a balanced approach. But this whole divine feminine, this is something that Wicca brought to the forefront. It was present and is present in forms of ceremonial magic and things of that nature, and Rosicrucianism, but Wicca really takes it to the next step, and said, hey, wake up world, this is important, and that's just super cool. Now, as far as there being an ancient witchcraft religion, I don't know. The word pagan is tossed about as it means the same thing as Wiccan, and that's changed now. And now we got a whole bunch of new terms. We got Wicca, we got neo-wicca, we got paganism, we got neo-pagan and neo-paganism. we got Christian Wicca, we got British traditional witchcraft, we got blah, blah, blah. We got all these different things. I'm not going to break down each and every one. If you want me to do a video in the future about a specific branch of Wicca or a so-called witchcraft religion specific, comment below, let me know, and we'll get to it. But again, as far as terms being synonymous, I do not believe that Wiccans are pagan in the sense of ancient paganism. There is, first of all, there was no faith called paganism. It just wasn't. People that lived in whatever area were just people of that area. They were worshippers of this or that god. Wicca also is not necessarily polytheistic. It is dualistic as far as masculine and feminine, but in a lot of sense, it is monotheistic just as much as Christianity or anything else, where they believe there is one supreme being, and the way that that being is manifested is through two separate energies, being divine masculine and divine feminine, and that all of these names of gods and goddesses are not separate at all. They are just personalities and archetypes of the ultimate divine feminine and the ultimate divine masculine, which are just branches of the one, the source, the God, the all, whatever you want to call it. So, again, being Wiccan does not necessarily mean polytheistic or ancient pagan at all. And in fact, when it comes to what people would consider to be ancient paganism, there are a lot of practices that were done by ancient pagans that if you said for a Wiccan to do that, they would shudder and run away. So, we have to be clear on what we're talking about. And me, personally, again, not a Wiccan, but I am a polytheist, a strict polytheist. And in that sense, I am pagan. So I very much do believe in separate entities, separate beings. Not that I don't believe in psychological, archetypal type structures of things, and the fact that myth is a way of explaining something that happens. But I do believe in separate entities, in a spirit model of magic, in various different things. And I'm not saying that there is not a one source either, because I do believe that as well. But, and it really doesn't matter what I believe. The purpose here is for me to give you guys information and based on my experiences, to try and help anyone that needs assistance. To teach and give, the best information I can give based on what I've gone through and what I've experienced, and hopefully help you guys. So, everybody's going to feel a certain way. And this video is not meant to, I am not belittling, Wiccans that profess to be witches and saying, you're not really witches, you're nobody. I'm not saying that at all. I would never get into some sort of online argument and say, you're not a witch because you can't walk on water, or anything like that. So, what was my point? My point is that there are differences in these terms, and I wanted to give some sort of clarity, and to say that no, Wiccan does not mean pagan. It does not necessarily mean pagan. Now, are there some people that profess themselves to be Wiccan that are polytheists? Absolutely, I'm sure. Are there some people that profess to be that are Wiccan that are also pagans and do some of them pagan practices that I was talking about? Most likely, yes. Are there Wiccans that are born with that natural gift that I was talking about? Yes. So we have a mishmash of all these different things. I just think it's important to kind of to develop an understanding. We have to define terms as what they are. Otherwise, we can't grow. We can't just lump everything into, a melting pot of sorts and pick and choose things that we want. It just makes for bad magic. It makes for bad. It just we need to. And I'm not saying don't be eclectic, because I think I'm very eclectic myself, but I feel that it's important to define terms as what they are, and that way we ourselves can grow. We can establish whatever form, I'm big on devotion, whatever form of devotional practice that calls to us, religious or spiritual or magical or all of the above. And knowing the specifics, we can then work within that paradigm and grow ourselves. So defining what's what is important to me. And I think it will help people. And I think there's a lot of people that are just confused and say, well, wait a minute, if Wiccan meant this, but then this person says this and that and that and that. And then they go crazy. And then they say, screw it, I'm just going to go back to being a Christian and going to church on Sundays and just not paying attention to any of this other stuff because it's just too confusing, and I'd rather just be told, it's in the Bible, and that works for me. Which, that may be right, that may be cool, and that's fine. But for those that do want to pursue the magical path, the practical magical path, and to get involved with the devotional side of it, whether, whatever tradition it is, I think it's important to have, these definitions and to have as much information as possible. And that way you can make an informed decision on what are the best practices for you. What is the best tradition for you? Again, and it doesn't have to be just one. There are many, many people that are members of OTO, that are professed Thelemites, that are also Wiccans and Pagans and witches and Golden Dawn members, and so this, you don't have to single out things. That's what I did. That's not what this video is saying. Pick one, but I just wanted to provide a little bit of information on the craft itself. Going to go a little bit in a different direction right now before I close out. Speaking of witchcraft and goddess worship and things of that nature, we are coming up on the full moon in May. And traditionally, that would be the rite of her sacred fires. Sarita Dieste had started a thing years back. I don't quite know when, but her sacred fires ritual, dedicated to the goddess of the night, of the moon, of witchcraft, the dark goddess, Hecate, Hecate, however you choose to pronounce it. There is much debate about how it's pronounced, but as you can see, I do have my altar to her. And I just wanted to make a brief announcement about that. If you are a devotee of the goddess, if you have heard the call of Hecate, and you have any experiences with her, or you wish to reach out, there has been a worldwide ritual of her sacred fires, of the dark goddess, and in which you would do, on the night of the full moon in May, you would do a rite to Hecate, and light a sacred flame, much like the torches that she carries, lighting the way in the darkness through the underworld. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of promote that a little bit. I'm going to be doing a video in the near future about this whole energy of the dark goddess in specifically. But in the meantime, it's coming up in a couple days. So if you choose to participate, I feel you guys should know right now. You should know by now that I go by my intuition and what I'm drawn towards, and what speaks to me via either the spirits I work with, or my daimon, my angel, tells me to do. And this is what I'm being led to do now. So I wanted to mention the rite of her sacred fires, and dedicate the end of this video and this video to the wonderful, amazing goddess Hecate, and and to invite anyone who is who hears that call, whether they be devoted or not, to feel free to participate in this ritual in your own way. The only advice I would give is just make sure you are, no matter what tradition you come from, or who you are, just approach it and her with reverence and respect and honor. So and I cannot be more clear on that. So if you choose to do so, feel free. Light a candle, say a prayer. It can be something very very simple, or elaborate, either. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I know it has nothing to do with Wicca whatsoever. However, there are many Wiccans that do worship Hecate in their own right. So yeah. That was that. I don't I don't have a whole lot more to say about it, but obviously she is very near and dear to my heart. And for those out there who have had an experience with this goddess, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to close it out there. So thank you for being with me today. As always, check the links in the description. We got a merch store, some cool Hecate shirts too, by the way, in the merch store. I would be a bad Magus if I didn't make some sort of design to her. But yeah, check out the description at my store. The description, the link is in the description. If you want to join the team here and support the message and help us grow, also have a Patreon. The link is below. Join today, and there's some really awesome rewards that you can qualify for when you sign up to be a part of the team and be a patron. So, yeah, don't miss out on that. Again, thanks to everyone for sticking with me. We are approaching 500 subscribers, which is just awesome. We still have that goal of 1,000 as soon as possible. But I am just, I'm over the moon, literally, with the growth that we've experienced, and everybody that has done the work in helping to share the videos and grow this channel. And I want to thank everyone for that as well. So before I go rambling on and on and on and on, this is supposed to be like a 15-20 minute video, and here we are, almost an hour. Anyway, yeah, so check out everything in the description. Bunch of cool stuff. Follow me on social media. Comment below. Give me a thumbs up if you thought the video was cool. If you thought it sucked, give me a thumbs down. That's cool too. And like I said, subscribe, share. Thanks a lot. Yeah. And shout out to all the team members and patrons as well. So thank you guys. Couldn't do it without you. And enjoy, whether you're Wiccan or pagan or a witch or a Thelemite or a Golden Dawny person or a Christian or a Muslim or whatever. Enjoy yourself. And again, don't forget her Sacred Fires this coming full moon in May. Again, in nomine Hecate. And yeah, love is the law. Love under will.